Your brain is running on ancient hunter-gatherer firmware that currently mistakes watching 15-second dancing videos for a massive evolutionary victory. Today, we'll audit the novelty bias exploit to see how social media algorithms soft-locked your prefrontal cortex into a perpetual dopamine debt. We'll push this buggy operating system to its limit and see if we can patch your attention span before the 9-to-5 grind completely breaks you. Hit that like button before your brain.exe forcefully reboots, and subscribe to the channel. Protocol initialized. The local server time is 2 a.m., and your physical avatar requires immediate horizontal hibernation to survive tomorrow's 9-to-5 grind. However, your brain's main objective tracker has been maliciously overwritten by a corporate algorithm. You are currently soft-locked in a behavioral loop known as Doomscrolling, a glitch where your ancient primate brain thinks it's hunting for high-calorie berries. In reality, you are just feeding your remaining serotonin to an AI that is min-maxing its ad revenue off your insomnia. Your dopamine receptors are currently functioning like a busted Amazon delivery drone, dropping reward packages randomly into the void. Every time you swipe, the novelty bias protocol fires up. Basically, your inner caveman yells, "Ooga booga, new shiny thing," and demands more. You watch a 10-second clip of a guy power washing a suburban driveway. Your primitive survival code registers this as crucial tactical knowledge. The video ends. The dopamine hits 0. The panic sets in. You must swipe to prevent the existential dread from loading. Next video. A hyper-edited finance bro shouting about how you're investing your index funds wrong. Your amygdala hijacks your prefrontal cortex. In gamer terms, your logical reasoning just rage-quitted and uninstalled itself. To self-soothe this manufactured panic, you swipe again. Ah, a cat falling off a Roomba. Balance is temporarily restored. But because of dopamine desensitization, the hit is weaker. The cat video only gives you 2% dopamine. You need a higher dosage to feel alive. You are now swiping at 120 frames per second. The content is blurring together into a toxic slurry of microtrends and fast fashion hauls. Your brain cannot process this data rate. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose of digital garbage. You briefly glance at the top corner of your screen. It is now 3:42 a.m. The realization hits. If you fall asleep right now, you get exactly 3 hours and 18 minutes of low-quality, stress-induced rest. A rational NPC would turn the device off, but you are not rational. Your willpower stat was nerfed to the ground at birth. The sunk cost fallacy kicks in. You've already ruined tomorrow. Might as well find one more good video to end on a high note. You tell yourself, just one more swipe. This is the oldest, most documented lie in human UI history. Welcome to the dopamine casino, where the house always wins, and your attention span is the only currency accepted at the door. Let's initiate a code audit on the operating system of your meat computer. The original developer of your firmware was a barefoot hunter-gatherer, terrified of being outstratted by a saber-toothed tiger. Back in beta testing, also known as the Stone Age, information was incredibly scarce and meant literal life or death. Finding a new patch of red berries was a massive RNG loot drop. Your brain rewarded you with a fat hit of dopamine. This is novelty bias. It's a hardcore evolutionary buff that ensured your ancestors didn't just sit on a rock and starve. It basically hard-coded your primitive HUD to constantly scream, "New stuff equals survival. Pay attention." Fast forward to present-day server time. You are lying in a climate-controlled suburban bedroom with an active Amazon Prime subscription. You are in zero physical danger, unless you count the high cholesterol from that 3 a.m. pizza roll delivery. But your legacy firmware never received an update patch for the modern era of infinite content. So when you swipe and see a TikTok of a guy building an underground pool out of mud, your brain completely misinterprets the data. Your amygdala, the inner alarm system, reads the visual stimulus and immediately triggers the ancient berry finding protocol. Ooga booga, says your subconscious. This mud pool knowledge will definitely help us survive the impending winter. Bam! Dopamine drop. You feel a microsecond of accomplishment despite having achieved absolutely nothing in the real world. This creates an infinite gameplay loop. The algorithm keeps dealing new visual cards, and your caveman brain keeps hitting stand. It is the biological equivalent of a glitch, where a player constantly spams the jump button to power level their acrobatics skill. But here's the critical game-breaking bug that ruins the meta: dopamine desensitization. Dopamine isn't just a happiness chemical, it's a motivation neurotransmitter. It's the raw mana you use to actually do stuff. When you flood your receptors with high-frequency, low-effort digital garbage, the receptors start to aggressively downregulate. Essentially, your brain realizes its internal economy is experiencing hyperinflation, so it radically raises the prices on joy. Yesterday, a dank meme made you laugh out loud. Today, that exact same meme barely warrants a slight exhale through the nose. By 2:30 a.m., your baseline dopamine levels have crashed harder than a crypto portfolio in a savage bear market. You are no longer scrolling to feel good. You are swiping just to stop feeling actively terrible. You are trying to fill an endless existential void with 15-second clips of Family Guy funny moments with Subway Surfers gameplay underneath. The UI engineers in Silicon Valley are fully aware of this exploit. They literally min-maxed it into their app architecture. The pull to refresh mechanic? That is a meticulously crafted digital clone of a Vegas slot machine lever. Every swipe is a pull. Will I get a boring ad, a mild chuckle, or the jackpot, a deeply unhinged drama storytime video? This variable ratio reward schedule turns your prefrontal cortex into a desperate gambling addict sitting at the penny slots. Your executive function, the part of the brain that pays taxes and remembers to drink water, is completely paralyzed. The inner caveman has locked the pilot out of the cockpit and is currently flying the plane directly into a mountain of brain fog. And the worst part of this entire glitch? You are fully aware it's happening, but your controller is disconnected. Welcome to the back end of the algorithm. It's basically a giant soulless Excel spreadsheet that figured out how to hack human biology. The tech giants didn't just build an app, they min-maxed a psychological warfare engine to extract your attention span. You thought you were just casually scrolling on a random Tuesday night. Wrong. You just queued into a ranked boss fight without any armor. The For You page is not your friend. It is an AI sniper, and it is locked onto your specific dopamine receptors. It tracks how long you linger on a video. Half a second too long on a cooking short, you are now marked as a foodie target. It builds a shadow profile of your deepest vulnerabilities. It knows you are anxious about the housing market and lonely at 3 a.m. So what does it feed you? A hyper-edited rant about mortgage rates followed immediately by an e-girl selling bathwater. This is tactical emotional whiplash.
The algorithm intentionally bounces you between outrage and arousal to keep your system in overdrive. Outrage spikes your cortisol. Arousal spikes your dopamine. Mixing them together is the digital equivalent of a speedball. Your brain is violently ping-ponging between "the economy is collapsing" and "look at this cute capybara taking a bath." This prevents your prefrontal cortex from ever settling back down to baseline. You are permanently stuck in combat mode. In gamer terms, you are trapped in an infinite combo string, and the opponent's hit stun is never dropping. To make matters worse, the UI designers implemented an infinite scroll. There are no natural stopping cues. Books have chapters. TV shows have end credits. Even a bag of potato chips eventually hits the bottom. But the scroll has no bottom. It is a bottomless pit of content, completely removing the concept of finishing a task. Your brain's completionist instinct is permanently left hanging.
You keep swiping to find the end of the internet. The algorithm also uses a classic pay-to-win mechanic, except instead of microtransactions, you pay with your sleep cycle. And just when you think you're getting bored, the algorithm drops a unicorn video, something perfectly tailored to your niche interests. It's a video explaining the lore of an obscure GameCube game you played exactly once in 2004. This critical hit obliterates your remaining defenses. You think, wow, the algorithm really gets me. No, it doesn't get you. It just ran 1 trillion data points and found the exact frequency needed to bypass your firewall. You are officially a farmed NPC in Mark Zuckerberg's virtual terrarium. Meanwhile, your physical stats are plummeting. Your eyes are drier than a corporate apology email. Your thumb joint is taking critical structural damage from the repetitive swipe motion. You are essentially giving yourself carpal tunnel syndrome to watch a guy cut a bar of soap in half. This is the ultimate biological exploit. The tech giants turned your survival instincts into their passive income stream. You try to mentally buffer a command to stop. You think, okay, next video, I'm done. But the gap between the end of one video and the start of the next is 0 milliseconds. There's zero loading time, zero time for your logical brain to execute the close app function. The dopamine slot machine is rigged. The house has your IP address, and your brain is officially bankrupt. You finally muster the microscopic drop of raw mana needed to initiate the put phone down sequence. This action requires the exact same physical and mental effort as trying to defuse a bomb while wearing heavy oven mitts. Your arm hovers 1 inch above the wood. You are so close to logging off and restoring your natural sleep cycle. But the exact millisecond the device leaves your palm, a critical system error rips through your nervous system. The algorithm registers the drop in screen time and instantly deploys its ultimate psychological defense mechanism. FOMO. FOMO, fear of missing out. Basically, your primal threat detection system starts screaming that the rest of the tribe is having a massive party without you. What if someone tags you in a life-changing meme right now? What if a minor acquaintance just posted a highly dramatic, vague story? Your amygdala treats this severe lack of digital gossip as a literal saber-toothed tiger stalking you in the tall grass. The physical separation from the toxic blue rectangle triggers an instant, massive spike in cortisol. You are redlining your stress hormones. You abort the mission. You immediately retract your arm and smash the phone back into your retinas. The crisis is temporarily averted. You rationalize this pathetic retreat by telling yourself you just need to clear the board and check your notifications one last time. This is a massive lie. You have 0 new notifications. You are not that popular, and it is 3 in the morning. Desperate, you open an app you literally just force closed 3 seconds ago, praying for a different RNG spawn. The feed is identical. You aggressively pull down to force a manual refresh, desperately shaking the vending machine for a free snack. Nothing. The algorithm's content pipeline is temporarily dry. You are now experiencing the modern tragedy of zero-ping isolation. To cope with the silence, you open your Gmail app. Like a total sociopath looking for corporate spam just to feel a pulse. Ah, a 15% discount code for a mattress company you bought from 4 years ago. Your brain pretends this is a highly valuable loot drop. You realize how deeply pathetic this behavior is. The shame buff temporarily overrides the FOMO debuff. You make a second, significantly more aggressive attempt. You slam the phone face down on the nightstand. The glass smacks the wood with a deafening thud. You tightly shut your eyes. You prepare to forcefully execute sleep.exe. But the silence of the room is entirely too loud. The lack of sensory input feels like a deprivation tank built out of pure anxiety. Your brain, suddenly starved of its 120 frames per second dopamine IV drip, panics and starts generating its own cursed offline content. Intrusive thoughts have entered the chat. Hey, do you remember that extremely embarrassing mispronunciation you made in a 2014 meeting? You instantly reach for the phone again. It is no longer an entertainment device. It is a necessary medical tool to suppress the cringe. Desperate to break the doom-scrolling loop, you decide to execute a tactical pivot to analog legacy media. You reach into the dusty depths of your nightstand and retrieve an ancient artifact, a physical paperback book. In the current meta, voluntarily reading a book at 3 a.m. is considered a high-level wizard spell requiring massive intelligence stats. You turn on your bedside lamp. The warm, analog yellow light feels like an alien sun compared to the sterile blue glow of the algorithm. You crack the book open. The UI is completely static. There is absolutely no dark mode, and the font cannot be adjusted. Your eyes physically scan the first paragraph. The brain initiates the legacy text parsing protocol. Error. The data transfer rate is critically low. The text is not flashing, dancing, or loudly demanding your attention. Your inner caveman looks at the static black ink, realizes there are zero flashy rewards here, and immediately requests a system abort.
To process a book, your brain has to actively render the graphics using its own internal GPU, also known as imagination. But your internal GPU is completely fried from passively rendering thousands of chaotic microtrends all day. You read the exact same sentence 4 times in a row, but the lore is just clipping right through your memory buffer. A massive, slow content error flashes in your mental HUD. The narrative pacing of a 19th century novel is entirely too realistic. Your thumbs begin to uncontrollably twitch. Muscle memory desperately wants to double tap the paper to like the paragraph. Frustrated by the lack of dopamine, you physically attempt to swipe down on the physical paper to skip to a better chapter. This analog hardware is heavily nerfed. There isn't even minimized Subway Surfers gameplay running at the bottom of the page to keep you engaged. How are you supposed to maintain focus on world building without someone aggressively cutting kinetic sand in your peripheral vision? The complete lack of secondary digital stimulation triggers a severe understimulation panic within your nervous system. Your dopamine receptors, trained for high-octane explosions every 3 seconds, view this slow drip of exposition as a literal punishment. You finally manage to read 1 full page. The cognitive mana cost was absolutely astronomical. You expect an immediate legendary loot drop, or at least a level up fanfare. The book offers nothing but deafening silence. And without the algorithm aggressively micromanaging your emotions, you are left alone in the void with your own thoughts. As we established earlier, your inner monologue is currently a highly toxic PvP zone where you are getting spawn camped by your own anxiety. To protect itself from this emotional damage, your brain hits you with a critical defensive debuff: extreme sleepiness. This is known as boredom narcolepsy. Your operating system forcefully attempts a shutdown to escape the low frame rate environment. Your physical avatar's head bobs heavily. The heavy book slips from your weakened grip and faceplants directly onto your chest. The analog experiment was a catastrophic failure. Legacy media is simply incompatible with your corrupted, dopamine-starved firmware. You wake up abruptly, gasping for air as if you just forcefully resurfaced from a deep, analog ocean. The book falls to the floor with a pathetic thud, joining the graveyard of your other failed productivity hobbies from last year. From the nightstand, the toxic blue glow of the smartphone screen briefly illuminates, calling to you like a digital siren. The hardware reset was completely unsuccessful. We are back to baseline, and your willpower stats are currently in the negative integers. Realizing your firmware is heavily corrupted, you decide to execute a highly dangerous, unpatched maneuver: the cold turkey protocol. You walk across the cold suburban bedroom floor. You place the toxic blue rectangle inside a dusty shoebox at the very back of your closet. You violently shut the closet door. The physical barrier is supposed to block the algorithm's psychic area of effect damage. You dive back under your heavy blanket. The room is now completely dark. The mission objective is simple: go to sleep. But your brain immediately registers this sudden disconnect as a critical server crash. The dopamine receptors, suddenly deprived of their 120 frames per second IV drip, start screaming for raw mana. Welcome to digital withdrawal. Your physical avatar starts experiencing hardcore debuffs, usually reserved for Victorian-era diseases. Phase 1. Phantom vibration syndrome. Your nervous system starts hallucinating physical, haptic feedback. You clearly feel a text message buzz in your right pocket. You are wearing loose sweatpants. Your phone is literally in the closet. This is a rogue nerve ending, desperately trying to farm engagement by sending fake pings to your brain. Next comes the auditory hallucinations. The absolute silence of the room morphs into the faint sound of a default Discord notification. Phase 2. Rationalization. The logic center of your brain attempts to gently negotiate a surrender to the algorithm.
Your inner monologue starts cooking up flawless excuses. What if you forgot to set your morning alarm? You will be fired from the 9 to 5. What if your bank account was suddenly hacked at 3:15 a.m.? You need to check your banking app right now. These are desperate lies manufactured by a heavily nerfed prefrontal cortex trying to get a microscopic hit of serotonin. Phase 3, the time dilation debuff. Without constant visual stimulation, your perception of time breaks completely. You feel like you've been lying here, enduring this hardcore detox for at least 45 minutes. You glance at the red glowing digits of your analog alarm clock. It has been exactly 94 seconds. Your social battery is completely depleted, yet you feel a desperate, clawing need to spectate other people's heavily filtered lives. The FOMO demon returns, and this time, it brings up that group chat you ignored 3 hours ago. They are probably discussing highly classified lore right now, and you are missing out. You are officially an NPC in your own friend group. Your eyes physically lock onto the closet door. It is no longer just a piece of painted wood. It is now glowing with an ethereal, toxic blue light from the cracks. It looks like the entrance to an epic boss room. The device is calling to you. The algorithm knows your willpower shield is currently at 0.1% integrity. Your body physically prepares for a relapse. Your heart rate violently spikes, as if you are about to pull off a clutch play in a competitive match. You try to hold the line. You close your eyes and mentally recite the consequences. If I swipe now, I will be a zombie tomorrow. But the primal urge for instant gratification completely overwrites the long-term consequence folder. Your physical avatar's hand slowly creeps out from underneath the warm, protective blanket. The cold turkey protocol was an incredibly arrogant gamble. You cannot out-willpower an AI farm designed by neuroscientists. System override confirmed. The inner caveman has completely breached containment. Prepare for relapse. You execute a pathetic, zombie-like sprint across the dark bedroom. The floorboards creak under the weight of your complete lack of self-control. You violently yank the closet door open. The mission to reclaim the toxic rectangle is the only quest in your log. You dive into the dusty shoebox. Your hands are trembling as if you are disarming a nuclear warhead, but backwards. Your fingers make contact with the cold, greasy glass. An immediate jolt of artificial electricity shoots up your arm. Just the physical touch of the device gives you a preemptive dopamine hit. You haven't even unlocked it yet. The screen lights up, blinding you with the fury of 1,000 corporate suns. The Face ID scans your absolutely ruined posture. Authentication successful. You have officially respawned into the digital meat grinder. You immediately swipe down to check the notification center. The FOMO demon promised you life-changing lore. The massive, world-altering notification? A 2-word text from your coworker saying, "Okay, bet." Your brain processes this incredibly low-tier data. The dopamine transaction bounces. Insufficient funds. Let us conduct a quick post-game analysis on why your willpower failed so spectacularly. Willpower is not a passive trait. It is a highly finite stamina bar that aggressively drains every time you make a decision during the day. By the time 3 a.m. rolls around, your willpower bar is not just empty, it is a negative stat glitching through the floor. Trying to fight a billion-dollar AI algorithm with zero stamina is like trying to fistfight a main battle tank. So naturally, since you are already awake and holding the device, the sunk cost fallacy reactivates. You boot up the endless feed again. The algorithm welcomes you back with open, highly monetized arms. But something has shifted. The shame debuff is now stacking aggressively. You are hyper-aware of your own pathetic loop. Then, a transition happens. For exactly 0.5 seconds between a video of a car crash and a cooking tutorial, the screen goes completely black. In that dark, glossy void, you catch a terrifying glimpse of your own reflection. The classic Black Mirror effect. You look like a freshly unboxed mummy who just found out about internet microdrama. It is a devastating reality check. The horror of this visual data finally bypasses the caveman bug and reaches your prefrontal cortex. You realize you cannot win this fight with raw willpower. The software exploit is too strong. You have to patch the hardware. Think about it like a casino. If a slot machine had absolutely no flashing lights, no ringing bells, and just dull gray buttons, would you play it? No. The caveman brain only chases the shiny, colorful berries. If the berries are gray, the caveman goes to sleep. You decide to execute a highly classified countermeasure hidden deep within the accessibility settings of your device. You are about to deploy the grayscale protocol, the ultimate tactical nuke against the algorithm's visual reward system. This requires zero willpower to maintain once activated, because you are literally cutting off the app's oxygen supply. Your thumb hovers over the color filter toggle. The algorithm senses the danger and tries to load a highly saturated meme to distract you. But the logic center is firmly at the wheel now. You swipe past the distraction and lock onto the target toggle. You take a deep breath. It is time to turn the endless dopamine casino into a boring, depressing spreadsheet. Protocol initiated.
The toggle clicks. The digital world is instantly stripped of its highly engineered, monetized color palette. Your dopamine slot machine has successfully been downgraded into a 1920s silent film about spreadsheets. The algorithm desperately tries to deploy its ultimate weapon, the bright red notification badge. But without the color red to trigger your amygdala's blood and berries threat detection, the badge is utterly powerless. You swipe to the next video. It's a hyper-stimulating sensory overload clip, but in grayscale, it just looks like depressing CCTV footage. Your internal dopamine output completely flatlines. The visual reward for swiping has been mathematically reduced to zero. The inner caveman looks at the endless stream of identical gray content and realizes there is absolutely no nutritional value here. You just successfully patched the novelty bias glitch. You cannot farm dopamine if everything looks exactly the same.
You scroll 3 more times out of pure muscle memory, but it feels like walking through digital wet cement. Deep in Silicon Valley, an AI retention metric graph plummets off a cliff, triggering alarms in an empty server room. The phone screen, once a portal to an infinite digital carnival, is now just a boring, lifeless brick of glass. Without the toxic blue light suppressing your melatonin, the real world suddenly seems slightly more appealing than the screen. This is the boredom reset. Your brain, starved of cheap, unearned stimulation, realizes it has a better alternative. The extreme sleepiness debuff from your legacy media experiment returns, but this time, you don't fight it. You stand up, walk back to the bed, and place the lifeless glass rectangle onto the nightstand. The FOMO demon tries to manifest again, but without the bright red UI colors to feed on, it just dissolves into dust. Your heart rate decelerates from the aggressive 140 beats per minute back down to a survivable resting pace. The physical tension in your jaw and shoulders unlocks. You have successfully parried the algorithm's ultimate combo attack. A massive "Victory" banner loads in your mental HUD. You survived the night against a $1 trillion data harvesting machine. The digital umbilical cord is finally severed. Your meat computer can begin its vital offline defragmentation process. You pull the heavy blanket up to your chin. The absolute darkness of the room is no longer an anxiety chamber. It is a shield. The intrusive thoughts try to queue up the 2014 cringe memory, but your prefrontal cortex simply hits block user. Your respiratory rate slows. The system enters deep hibernation mode, escaping the matrix for a few blissful hours. On the nightstand, the boring, grayscale phone sits perfectly still. It has zero power over you. The server clock hits 7 a.m. The morning sun blasts through your cheap suburban blinds like a tactical flashbang. You respawn into the waking world. Your HP is relatively low, but you aren't completely soft-locked by brain fog. Morning muscle memory immediately kicks in. Your hand blindly reaches for the dopamine dispenser on the nightstand. You unlock the screen. fully expecting a sensory barrage of micro-trends and aggressively angry political takes to ruin your morning. But the grayscale protocol is still active. The screen looks like a boring digital tax document from 1998. Your inner caveman looks at the gray glass, realizes there are no shiny berries to farm, and immediately goes back to sleep. For the first time in a decade, you casually put the device back down and actually get out of bed on the first attempt. A massive green text floats above your head. You just acquired a microscopic buff, but in this economy, we take those.
You will need every single drop of that raw mana to survive today's main quest, the brutal 9-to-5 corporate grind. You have a mandatory Zoom meeting waiting for you that absolutely, unequivocally, could have been an email. But because your dopamine receptors aren't entirely fried today, you might actually survive the morning commute without a minor existential breakdown. The war is far from over. The Silicon Valley AI is currently recalculating its attack vectors for tonight. It knows your exact location, your weaknesses, and your deeply weird history of impulse Amazon purchases at 3 a.m. But tonight, you successfully parried the novelty bias exploit. You are officially 5% less of an NPC.
If you want to keep leveling up your mental skill tree and survive the algorithm, hit the subscribe button. Drop a like before the AI realizes we just exposed its pay-to-win mechanics and shadow bans this video into the void. And share this with a friend whose daily screen time looks like a full-time job with forced overtime. Logging off. See you in the next patch update. Stay gray.